I moved to Turkey exactly 3 years ago, and everything was great for a week. Exactly a week. And then I started to feel anxious. Reality and expectations of moving abroad might shock you. It's definitely not what I expected. The reality of living in another country is so much more raw. Hello, beautiful people. This is Anastasia. I'm so happy to see you here. Today, we are diving into the topic that is so close to my heart. What does it really look like to live in another country? Is it as glamorous as social media makes it look like? I'd love to share with you my raw reality of my life after I made the decision of moving abroad. I'm 31 years old. I'm from Russia. My husband is American. We are an international family, and for 3 years we live in Turkey, in Izmir. Pretty soon we are moving to Indonesia, and I thought this is a really great time to focus on reflections on how my last adaptation looked like in Turkey. Initial shock, adaptation, being in a very dark place, figuring out my place in the world, starting this channel, finding my ground, and finally growing in unexpected ways. Because I want my next transition to be smoother, lighter, better. I've moved to different countries and I noticed that there are some patterns that I always face. No matter what, there is this period of adaptation to climate, people, language, and just the atmosphere. So far, I lived in Indonesia, Myanmar, Thailand, Georgia, Turkey, and despite of the fact that it's not my first time moving to Indonesia, I'm a bit older, much older, and with different priorities, a set of rules, I would say. But what still gets me excited about moving to a new country and traveling is exploring the world and myself. I love exploring myself through culture. I think one of the best ways to explore yourself and the world is to travel. And even after 10 years since the first time I left, I still believe that. But today let's focus on my recent experience in Turkey. How did it really feel like to live in Turkey? I moved to Turkey exactly 3 years ago, and everything was great for a week. Exactly a week. It was a nice food, beautiful beaches, and then I started to feel anxious. Then I started to feel my initial shock of being in Turkey. I had a lot of internal battles, and I think it's pretty common to have internal battles once you move to a new country, and a big part of it was my support system of my friends and family was pretty small. Only few people were truly supporting me. It's my closest family, my husband, my closest friends, but there was some group of people and some friends that I feel like could not understand why would I make such a decision, what is the reason I moved abroad, and it felt like little opposition. Another thing is adapting to Turkey itself. Turkey is a very interesting place. It's not exactly Europe, it's not exactly Asia, it's its own culture and its own place with a set of rules that were kind of far from my culture and far from culture of my husband. I couldn't really understand their language, and to me speaking to people and understanding them and finding ways to communicate is one of the most important parts of my life, and I feel like we had a big barrier, and not only language barrier but cultural barrier as well. I wasn't really familiar with their religious holidays, with their cultural holidays. I didn't really understand what's going on in their political and economical world. Yeah, this cultural shock was just a big part of my initial shock. A big event that happened and shocked me and everyone around me is in 2023, big earthquake hit Turkey. It was between Turkish and Syrian border. 60,000 people died. It was a big tragedy, and this earthquake created aftershocks of earthquakes around the country. The biggest one, of course, were happening in the region where the earthquake initially happened, but some aftershocks happened in the city where we live in Izmir. They were not extremely high. It was 3.5, 4.0 earthquakes, but they were happening every day for about a few weeks. I was feeling extremely anxious. I was just anxious all the time. And I think that the first year was a very dark place for me when I felt like an alien in this place. I felt lonely, anxious because of this earthquake, anxious because of being so removed from culture. It was just hard. And then I slowly, very slowly started to feel okay. During the second year in Turkey, I started to adapt. And the big part of this healing journey was people. During the second year, my husband and I, we met really good people, and the time in Turkey just changed. But honestly, it wasn't just that. Even though people play such a big role in adaptation part and just generally in life, another thing that really helped me was daily life adjustments. I created some routines that I was following is going to Pilates and gym classes. I found the bazaar very close to home, so I would just go buy some vegetables, interact with locals, have a few conversations, do sports, and other things were building a new support system for myself. I did yoga at home, and I really loved going for coffee walks. I would just go to coffee shop, take a coffee to take away, and just walk somewhere in the city. I had few streets that I particularly enjoyed, which was Alsancak and next to seaside in Göztepe in Izmir. I really loved my coffee walks. Sometimes I would journal at coffee place, sometimes I would journal at home, but having these routines really grounded me and they gave me some peace. And during the second year, I started to truly enjoy Turkish culture. I learned few of their holidays. I also learned to navigate Turkish culture while embracing my own culture. Found buckwheat in Turkish stores and pickles, and I just cooked it at home, and it felt so cozy and nice having this meal at home. I love buckwheat and pickles together. It's just like my Russian little treat. I also started to find comfort and discomfort. I realized that there is so much potential in growth and discomfort. There is so much potential of growth and discomfort. In the beginning of the third year, I started to find some peace in the journey. I started to feel grounded, and the big part of it was to find those anchors that would help me feel grounded. I started a YouTube channel, making videos and doing something every day that I can control and truly enjoy. My husband and I, we created a few new traditions and habits, and one of them is a Turkish breakfast. So here in Turkey, every Turkish family goes to have a Turkish breakfast every Sunday. During this breakfast, they discuss family matters and ideas and things, and they plan the future. And I extremely love that. I love planning. I love discussing things, and from now on, my husband and I occasionally go on Turkish breakfast and just discuss family matters and spend time together. I think it's such a great tradition. I think we're gonna take it even when we are outside of Turkey. I also enjoy Turkish coffee from now on. It has such a rich texture and smell. Turkish coffee is such a big part of a tradition, and I'm also a coffee lover, so it's something I definitely brought with me from Turkey to my life. I also found my places in Turkey. That helped me a lot. Finding your own places where you would spend some time and just enjoy, it's so important. One of my favorite ones is Izmir Seaside, where I really like to brainstorm, dream about the future, or create new ideas for the next videos. And I have my favorite coffee shops in a city center that are just my peaceful places. I truly love coffee and being in coffee shops, that type of energy. I started learning to embrace the unknown, which is so scary and anxious. But when you enjoy it, it starts to be so peaceful. Enjoying the unknown is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it brought me so much peace and pleasure and happiness, like being in a process, being in today, enjoying what I have today, the life I'm creating. I think in Turkey I realized once again, and probably on a deeper level, that growth is possible only through challenges. And moving to a new country is such a challenge. I realized how much more capable I am than what I've thought about myself. There is so much potential each one of us has inside that we don't even know that it's there. And just putting yourself in a challenging situation, in a new context, new country, new atmosphere, and just see how you're gonna figure it out. Reality and expectations of moving abroad might shock you. It's definitely not what I expected. The reality of living in another country is so much more raw, and it involves so much work that I would never do if I would live in my own country. And I honestly never see the content online of people talking how hard it is to adapt to a new country, but at the same time I rarely see content on how rewarding it is when you went through adapting to a new country and you found your peace and ground and anchors. The growth always pays off. And in the last 3 years living in Turkey, I realized that I can create a new life, a happy life, in exactly complete new environment, with a new language, with a new set of rules, and enjoy it and embrace it and grow spiritually and personally at the same time. This is the greatest gift you can receive from living abroad, is enjoying your life more, is exploring yourself more. I definitely opened up my world living my home country and going into this journey of living abroad. That I guess what traveling and living abroad does to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. That was Anastasia. I'm just starting my channel, so I would really appreciate for you to do your thing for the algorithm. And I would love to hear back from you. What do you think about life abroad? Would you ever choose to live in another country? And if you're into wellness, meditation, exploration, traveling and living abroad, well, I'll see you in my channel later. Bye!